Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Reasonably Effective podcast brought to you by myself, Uncommon Fossil, and joined by 10 types as always.
Yep. Hello, everyone, and happy New. Wait, when is this being released?
It's
Is it
gonna,
on New Year's?
no, it's coming out like a day or two before New Year's, whatever it is.
Okay.
I think the second. No, you got me all confused. Why you asked? The December 30th. But
Okay. Okay.
so what we're doing after that brilliant beginning, and asking me a question I wasn't prepared for, and I anyway,
The
we're
classic.
yes, it's good content and preparation. So we're doing our year-end awards, the 2024 edition, because we're ending 2024. There's only a couple days left in the year. No new cards coming out, so I think we're pretty safe with making our awards. We probably need a name for our awards, but we didn't come up with one. So maybe next year. And tell in the comments below, give us a suggestion for what these awards should be called. How about that?
Yeah, they're the best awards. That's the only logical answer.
The only awards that really matter, right?
Exactly. Regardless, we're going to be going over the best cards of the year. Not necessarily new cards. A few might be the awards. None of the categories have to be new cards. Though, being a new card will mean a card is at a disadvantage because it wasn't playable the whole year. I think we're really looking post rotation. There was rotation this year, but we're looking at cards after that. I don't think it matters too much though.
Right. I didn't really pay too much attention to pre-rotation. I don't think it would swing things, but if we think of something pre-rotation, that's fine. But it's primarily post-rotation, and yeah, to me, we're looking at three categories for Pokemon, three categories for trainers and energy, and to me, versatility is a plus with things always, and like longevity in a sense, right? The more of the year it was at a high level, that's a plus as well. And new cards, of course, weren't around all year.
Yeah, yeah. So something like Terapagos EX, which is relatively new. I mean, it's not like the newest set, but it's only been around for like half the year, or less than that, and so that's realistically going to be at a pretty big disadvantage. But we'll talk
Right.
about at least one card I have that's printed this year. I have a few, but
Yeah.
regardless, let's just start off with I think the first category, arguably the most important category, which is the best attacking Pokemon. And I have four, I guess, nominations. And we were talking before. You all said you had four, right?
Yeah, and this one we're concerned. So you say this is the most important. I know it's the most important sense, but I honestly, when I was looking through in terms of the candidates for it, this was one of the most boring categories to me. At least
Yeah,
interesting in
I'd
terms
agree
of
with
what
that.
it could be. So,
So what do you have?
all right. So I'll go not in any particular order, although it always is. Dragapult EX, Charizard EX, Raging Bolt EX, and Regidrago V Star. So, what, three dragons and a darkness Pokemon?
And I also have those four Pokemon. So I'm not surprised. We were talking a little bit before, and we kind of thought we might have the same one. So yeah, we have the same ones. And you said there's one you think wins clearly.
Yeah, and you
And which one is?
did. And I think you said the same. So I mean, I think Regidrago V Star is the attacker of the year.
Wait, what? I thought it's Charizard. What?
It's Reggie. All right, well that's good. We have a debate. Look, if you look at the Reggie Drago has been so dominant all year. Now,
I get, but if you look at the results, so I just pulled up Limitless. You can sort by tournaments. This is points. I guess I could sort by like other categories. So I guess Regidrago beats it on earnings, but then Charizard beats it with the other categories by the 1 points is like a good category, and it's the highest, like it's double Regidrago V Star throughout the year. I think recently with the past two formats, Regidrago V Star has
yeah,
been probably better. Looking at online tournaments throughout the sets, looking at Paradox Rift, which was pre-rotation, Charizard was better. Also, why do you think it's Regidrago actually?
all right, so let me call. I didn't think this was an issue. I didn't have to prepare for this. So, all right, so I was just calling up tournaments. So it just won Toronto. It was second. So I'm just
These are
calling.
in-person tournaments.
This is IRL. That's easier to see. I can click a card and see the results, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It actually was 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, and
Well, yeah,
10.
but that was just one tournament.
I understand. So I think it has a lot of high finishes, didn't it? It came in fourth. Oh, that's the senior. So not that that doesn't count, but um,
Yeah, less people and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it came in sixth and seventh. That I mean, it won it won a special event, and look, it had just tremendous results.
Yeah,
So
it has. I'm not saying it's bad. I think it's the second best
so you
card.
think Charizard,
Um,
and I actually don't think Charizard's the second best.
what do you think the second best is?
So I think Raging Bolt is the second best.
Yeah,
It's just a
you know, I think
pure.
Raging Bolt's bad, so I'm not gonna say Raging Bolt.
It,
But
it, it, it's just
we don't
such
think
a huge beat stick, though. You know what I'm saying? It's just
which one?
it does Raging Bolt
Wait,
just
isn't
does.
Rare Beast like a Pokemon that like doesn't take one shots generally? I
No,
mean, it
it
could.
just beats.
Isn't Charizard?
That's true. It's just it's a huge just smash through, right? And in one sense,
Yeah, it's
it's
very strong.
it's a
But
really clear like attacking Pokemon. It's just not a lot of attacker, right? Because Reggie Draco obviously is an attacker. It's a versatility thing also. It also has a good ability. Charizard, really good attacker, but if you took away the ability, it's not good, right? So
it has the ability.
I know, but see, we have a support category, so it's so anyway. And Charizard's been very vulnerable. I think
I guess.
Raging Bolt just does what you want in a big aggro deck, right? And it's been pretty good the whole time. It hasn't been great, but I think it's been pretty good. I think,
Raging Bolt.
yeah, Raging Bolt.
Yeah, no, I think that's Raging Bolt's like good, but I don't think either of us are arguing for. I
I think
don't think
it's
we're end up with Raging Bolt. I'd put Reggie Draco above Raging Bolt,
okay.
and you would as well.
What I put, yeah, I would. I would put it above Charizard though. So I'm trying to look at what it won. I'm looking at Charizard stats now. So it won Stuttgart. As I'm just looking through things.
But let's look at play limitless, right? That's a good thing that can show pretty clearly what like good decks are. The most played deck, generally the most like being more played is good, and
Yeah,
reflects it doing well previously. So in Paradox Rift, Charizard is the top deck. Um, there are other decks. Regidraco V-Star is not on this list, like really at all. I don't think
wait. So you did
because
what?
Tiamat Ponyx,
Wait, which?
Paradox Rift, and play limitless.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
so
below, but
yeah,
it's only 40% win rate. So
well, it's
that's an
no, it's 40. It's like it's decent. I mean, it's obviously it's good. It was the most played deck. Generally, decks that get played a ton do end up losing more. And anyways, then the next expansion, Temporal Forces, which was kind of like the first one of the year.
yes,
I guess yeah, Paradox Drift would have been the previous year, but some of that format was this year. But then Temporal Forces, you see Charizard is the best deck. Reggie Draco was not here at all. Like Charizard is
yeah.
clearly above Reggie Draco.
Well,
And then you have the next dimension, Twilight Masquerade. Reggie Draco is the fifth deck, and then Charizard is the third. Then, which is like the first set that Reggie Draco really started being. I mean, when Teal Master X came out,
right.
and then Shrouded Fable. Charizard is the top deck. Reggie Draco is the second deck. Stellar Crown, Region Bolt's the top deck, then Charizard's second, Regidraco's fourth. Then with Surging Sparks, Charizard's the top deck, Regidraco's the second deck. Regidraco does have a higher win rate. I certainly don't think it's crazy to say Regidraco's better than Charizard in this format, but I mean Charizard's really good. I don't think it's. I think most people would say Regidraco's better, but I think Charizard EX is like really, really, really good right now. So, and looking just at play limitless, Charizard was
Yeah.
above Regidrago in literally all the categories
Well, for plays, but
for plays.
all right. So look, I think the argument in favor of Charizard is Charizard has been around all year, right? Whereas Reggie
Yeah, I think
Draco
that's a big part
came
of
on
it.
later. But once Reggie Draco came on, it had a higher win rate every time, often by like 3 or 4%. So it just performed a lot better. It won at a higher rate. So so to me, I think that's why I would go with Reggie Draco.
But there are other cards there are decks that have higher win rate than that too. Like I'm checking one deck that I think has a higher win rate. I could be wrong. Regidraco's win rate is pretty good. It's good. There are decks that have higher win rates that I've played less as well. So I think if you just look at win rate, then like because decks that have higher win rates generally are played like a little less. So those things kind of go in very like Snorlax. I think if you go by win rate, Snorlax is the top card.
Well, I mean, you got to be win rate, but also has to be at a deck that's played a lot, right?
Yes, no. So of the decks that are played a lot, Snorlax. It's not necessarily like top 10 plays all the time, but um, it's been pretty consistently
Well,
a great win rate.
okay.
Um,
So
Yeah.
All right,
Which I'm
look.
not saying, and I don't think Snorlax is the best card and the best attack. I mean, it's not an attacker,
Well, see,
but
that's the question, right? Snorlax is not an attacking
right.
Pokemon.
That's not in the running either, right?
Uh, well, here's the thing. I would say I probably, I mean, I would, out of these four Pokemon, I might put it, like, I think Dragapult EX is the bottom of the four myself.
Hmm.
I think it's very good, obviously. It's, to be considered fourth of the year. But I probably might put Snorlax over that in terms of a deck. But Snorlax is not an attacker per
Well,
se.
but Dragapult's like the main attacker in Regidrago. So why do you think Regidrago's good if you don't think Dragapult's good?
Well, Dragapult can, Regidrago does other things, right?
Yeah, but like Dragapult's the main attack.
And I don't think if you look at Dragapult's results over the year, I don't think it was all that great consistently,
Well, but
was it?
all the Regidrago results are also Dragapult results.
Well, when I say right Dragapult, it's without Regidrago, right? It's
Well,
just
but
it's a
this isn't
Dragapult
like,
pure Regidrago attacking deck. You know what I'm
huh?
saying? I think a Dragapult deck is not. If I'm going to say that's the best attacker, I'm removing Regidrago V Star from the equation.
Yeah, but that's like part of what makes Dragapult good too. I wouldn't have put Dragapult on the list if it wasn't for Regidrago.
I think Dragapult's a very good deck unto itself.
I think it's okay.
I
I
think
mean,
it's
it's
going to
like,
get better. I think it's going to become more important with the next set and such too. But
well,
that's not part of
yeah, it
this
doesn't
topic.
matter.
But I
Yeah, I
think
mean, yeah, I know you like Draco a lot, but I think that there are like better attackers than Dragapult. Like, I'd probably put Trapos above it. I know it's a little different. If just looking at Dragapult outside of Regidraco, it's a little different because obviously Trapos was released later.
right.
But to me, like I think like Regidraco just hasn't been good the whole year. It's been
Uh,
good. When did TMS Ogre X come out? It came out in it came out in May. So like that's a good chunk of the year that
that's
you
true.
like Regidraco wasn't really usable. So I think Regidraco, I definitely see where you're coming from. I think a lot of people think it should like I predicted in the comments a lot of people think it should be Regidraco, but like that's because of like recency bias. And
Well,
yeah, I think with recency bias, then I'd say Regidraco. But
all right. Look,
um,
I'll give you Charizard EX. I think it's very good. I think in some ways it doesn't get the respect it should in the IRL scene. Because I think it's just very good. I just I
it's been good like the whole year.
and I'll give it to you because of that. The problem is once Regidrago was good, it's been better, right?
I guess.
So for like 70% of the year, Regidrago would be the deck for 70%, right? But of course,
I'm actually gonna check on the limit list here past 6 months. Yeah, Regidraco's ahead of it by a noticeable amount. So yeah, I mean I
but
could see it that way, but
I mean,
then I'd actually I might give it to Dragapult over Regidraco because that's the main attacker within Regidraco as well.
all right. So look, we need to come up with a decision, right, and move
Yeah,
on here.
Charizard. You said
So I'm
Charizard.
willing to
So
do that. I'm willing to do that. Um,
just because all the data happens to back it,
Not all the data. Over the course
not
of
all
the
the
12 months of this year, Charizard is better once you bring that into focus.
yeah. So regardless, we went with Charizard. So that was a lot of more disagreement than I was expecting.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, I think yeah. Anyways, so we'll move on to the next category: best supporting Pokemon. I will say I don't think so. There wasn't a clear answer based on what we decided. But for supporting Pokemon, I also don't think there is. So I have five cards, and I think any of them could be it. How many do you have?
I have five as well. I think it's between two probably, and I'm not sure if we'll have the same five on this one or not.
Okay, so I'll read mine first here. I got Pheasantipty EX, Radiant Greninja, Tealmaster Ogerpon EX, Pidgeot EX, and Squawkabilly EX. And yeah, as I said, I think any of them could get it.
Like, so, all right. So we didn't quite agree. I think we had. So you said Pidgeot EX and Squawkabilly,
Hmm.
and I had Pheasantipity, Radiant Greninja. I think it's one of those two myself. I didn't have Tiamask Ogerpon. I had Rotom V.
Yeah,
Though.
Rotom V is good. I was also considering putting Lumineon V. Rotom V
Yeah.
and Lumineon V. Really, any V is kind of tied to Forest Seal Stone, um, which like makes them better. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. It's a good thing. But Rotom V is almost like a card that enables searching for any card, but that's not actually
Well,
what it does.
I'm not sure with Rotom V, right? You draw three cards, your turn ends. like in a deck when it was played, say, the Charizard EX deck, right? With Pidgeot EX, which is potentially the winner for this support category. Um, I think you still might play Rotom V without Forest Seal Stone. I'm not sure. That'd be an interesting question to consider. But
Yeah. Mhm.
Rotom V obviously isn't in every deck, but it's a really important card in a lot of decks, right? As well as like control decks too, right? You love that too, right?
Yeah, I mean it's good in a few decks, decks like Charizard, like Dragapult, and then Snorlax. It's not even in like all Dragapult lists. And then it's good in I don't know, like Rotom V is good. I don't think you think it's Rotom V. You said
I
what
don't
two did you
think
say
it
it was
is.
between?
I think it's Pheasantipity or Radiant Greninja. But if you wanted to argue Pidgeot EX, I can see that too because it's obviously insanely good what it does, right? Gets one card of whatever it is every turn. Obviously, stage two, you got to set it up, and if you need more than just the one card, right? If it's Pidgeot's so much better now that you have Pheasantipity, right? Because you get some cards and then you get the missing piece, so they kind of work together in a sense.
Yeah, I think TLMS. So you didn't say TLMS Ogre Pontiacs, and I think
No,
that's kind of fair. It's obviously not. Well, it's a little weird. It's very different. It's kind of like very much tied to attackers, and in a way that the other ones aren't. And then also on
yeah,
top of that, it's a card that isn't playable in most of the decks in the game, and it's not like it's in two of the very best decks. We were talking about Regidraco V-Star and Reasonable EX, and those are very good decks,
right.
and were throughout the course of the year. And TMS Ogre EX is great, but I don't think it's the best. And then so Pheasant of the four
All
we
right,
have,
all
I
right.
think Pheasant.
So just one second. So yeah, so I think so. Teal Mask Ogre Pond because it's limited. Rotom V is limited. I also would put Squawkabilly EX in that limited category. There's certain. It's obviously great in a number of decks,
I mean,
but
it's much less limited than those, or it's less limited than those other two. Much
okay.
less than TMS Ogre Pontiacs, but it is a one of. TMS Ogre Pontiacs is the only one, I believe, of the ones we said that is I guess a four of in essentially all the decks it's played in.
Yes, I mean that's true. Right. Radiant Greninja has to be a one of. Pheasantipity EX is usually a one of.
Oh, wait,
Um,
maybe it's a three of. I guess it's a three of or a four of.
yeah,
Depends on the deck.
I don't think I'm going to would give it much of a bump because of that. Although that probably helps it, but I think it's too niche. Is my thought.
Yeah. So I think Pheasantipity EX is the strongest of the cards, but then it came out halfway through the year. So that's kind of weird. Like it's the best card. I think it's the
Right.
most played Pokemon in the game right now by like a wide margin. Radiant Greninja is really good, but it's a Radiant, so well, okay, now not all decks would want it anyways, and then some decks might want another Radiant as well. Though more so, there are decks that just don't really need it. Pheasantipity is like not reliability in play, unlike Squawkabilly EX. I mean, any of them could be, and Pheasantipity can be, but it's a really good card that's in most decks. But how much would you tax it for being a card that hasn't been playable half the year?
I mean, it's got to be really good, right? So I'm just trying to look. So you don't think it's Pidgeot EX, do you? By the way, or maybe?
No, no, I don't think it's Pidgeot. Well, it's in Charizard and like some controls. Yeah, Pidgeot EX is like it's a good card, but it's not. Yeah, no, I wouldn't give it to that.
It's a little narrow, right? Some Terapagos, Dusknoir,
Oh
but
yeah, Trap Ghost
mostly
too is very
Charizard and
good.
Pidgeot control. So mostly Charizard
Mhm.
is what it's in. So let me just take a look at the stats here. Right? You wanted to take a look at Radiant Ninja because that's obviously been around all year. Um, like it was.
Wait, what stats are you looking at?
I'm looking
Just
at
like placings,
this is
tournament
the
placings?
IRL. Sorry, this is the IRL stuff. Sorry, I'm doing
Yeah,
that.
which isn't really like a stat. I mean, it's like
No,
tournament
I'm scanning through
placings,
some
but it's
tournaments. So it was like the third, like top eight. It was third in a Raging Bolt deck. Okay, and that's it there. I mean, it's in a lot of decks, but let's see, like Perth
and then it does
eighth,
well. It's not in well, it's in a
Bologna
decent amount of decks,
two
but
four six. All right, so let's see,
the
Stuttgart
most recent major tournament, it
tied for
won
seven.
and came second,
Third.
which is impressive. At the time of recording, the Champions League in Osaka, and which
Right.
does have a handful of cards that aren't out yet. I don't believe those are in the top decks, but there's Badu. Um, or it wasn't in like the top two decks, if I'm not mistaken, but more or less the same format that International's in, and certainly it's within the what's graded here as well. So
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm not taking the Japanese results into account, especially the new ones, because we don't have it internationally, right? That same
I guess,
set of
but it's still
cards.
like a card, and it's like tournaments that are
Yeah,
um
but look,
within the year.
so Toronto regional, it was in the top 8 decks, all of them. And I'm scrolling down, and I'm
It was
still
okay.
scrolling, and I'm still scrolling, and I'm still scrolling through Toronto, and it finally got out of Toronto. Perth only two, four, six,
Wait,
seven.
wait, sorry. What you said it was in all of the top 8 decks in
Yes,
Toronto?
Pheasantipity.
Oh, Pheasantipity. I thought you were talking about
Pheasantipity.
Radiant
No,
Greninja.
no, because for Pheasantipity to beat Radiant Greninja, it's just got to be super dominant since it came out. Is my point. That's the way I
Yeah, and I
look
think
at
it
it.
has. Well, I don't necessarily think it's Radiant Greninja. Like, I think it could be Squawkabilly.
You think Squawkabilly? Okay, I don't. Okay, so
Squawkabilly, because we like what these cards actually. We're just talking about how much they're played, but ultimately, what matters is what they do.
yeah,
And what Radiant Greninja does is it adds consistency throughout the course of the game. Pheasantipity adds, I think, more consistency throughout the course of the game, protection from Iono, and yeah,
right.
things like that. And then Squawkabilly allows for explosive turn one combos, so it's different. Radiant Greninja and Pheasantipity actually are pretty similar cards. Um, Radiant Greninja is more niche. Calling it niche is like kind of silly because it's not that niche. It's pretty widespread, but then Squawkabilly EX is a card that goes in like turbo decks, but
Right.
looking at the top decks, there are some decks that really can't work without it, including something like Raging Bolt EX, Roaring Moon EX, and
Right.
again, Mariah and EX. Like these turbo decks can't really work at all without Squawkabilly EX. They kind of can, but you need to get lucky if you don't have Squawkabilly EX. With Squawkabilly EX, they work way better.
Yeah. I mean, right now it's tied to Regidrago. I see like Roaring Moon. Obviously, I mean, it's the Raging Bolt is to be like a classic Squawkabilly EX deck. So
Yeah.
Squawkabilly X it's more versatile than maybe I was given credit for originally. Um, the way decks are now too, because I've been thinking some about engines and what we have post rotation, and we're losing big engines. But most of these decks don't really have. A lot of decks just don't have engines. They kind of
Well, they have like Pheasant EX, Radiant Greninja,
right. They
Pokestop, things like that.
yeah, we lose Pokestop, obviously Red Greninja. A lot of it is Pheasantipity. You have enough stuff to get going, and then rely on Pheasantipity to carry it through. And the games are short a lot of times too, so they're kind of designed with these big turbo decks. You win like 4 turns, the game's done, or you've lost if you don't pull that off. So look, Pheasantipity. I mean, the question is Squawkabilly Pheasantipity is more important since it came out than any of these
Yeah,
other
I
Pokemon.
think right now I'm leaning towards Pheasantipity because it's so good. Like,
Hmm.
yes, it is a card that hasn't been played as much. Well, it hasn't been out as long, but it's so dominant. It's like one of
Right.
the most dominant cards Pokemon that we've seen in a very long time, I think. Or they would with like within like it's the most dominant Pokemon of the year when it's been out, which is really impressive. And we haven't seen like Squawkabilly X, Radiant
Right.
Greninja. Radiant Greninja is like everyone's like, oh, other Radiants are so bad. And we said this. The other Radiants are bad because they're competing with Radiant Greninja, but I believe Radiant Greninja is in less than half the decks by a noticeable margin. So,
Right.
it can't be it's not Pheasantipity. Pheasantipity EX is a card it doesn't completely change the game by being in the game despite its play rate, but I think it's a card that just allows decks to work
Yeah, I mean
better.
it's a card that goes in almost every deck, right? I was gonna say maybe it's the best card in a sense since Dedenne GX in that sense, but it's even more
Yeah,
versatile,
I was
universal than that, even, right?
I guess, yeah. Dedenne GX is kind of like Squawkabilly, but not just turn one. So
Right.
yeah,
It's like super turbos charged Squawkabilly EX,
yeah,
which I assume it means they're never gonna print that one again. So, um,
yeah. I love Dedenne though. Dedenne was fun, broken but fun.
yeah.
Regardless, yeah. I think
So
so
Pheasantipity
Pheasantipity.
gets the crown for this one, right?
Yeah, and then we only talked about rule box Pokemon. So the next category is not best non-rule box Pokemon. So you have less than me. I have 8 or something. I have 3 that I think can win it most likely, but
Yeah.
it's weird. There are obviously a lot of non-rule box Pokemon because most are, but the best ones generally aren't.
Yeah, so I have 4, and in 1 or 2 of these I considered putting in the other list too a little bit. So I think what I'm probably going to argue for the best one is everybody's favorite Pokemon, and that's Block Snorlax,
Mhm.
because as you've already said how good that is at winning. So that's definitely a consideration. Dusknor, which I considered putting on best support Pokemon list, honestly. Um, it's very powerful, is what it does. And I would include the whole evolution line when I say that. Probably I'm not going to. I would include the stage one. Maybe that's cheating.
I mean, the stage one isn't like anywhere near as meaningful as the stage two either. Um,
No, but the stage one sometimes gets used, right? So
yeah, no, it's a card that's used. It's a meaningful card, but it's not. Dusknoir is the card. If we didn't have Dusclops, I think Dusknoir would still be fine.
right. I'm putting down. I have Archeops because its
Okay,
ability is just insane, right? It's obviously very niche, right?
forgot about that one.
It's in one deck, but it makes that deck good, right? Because otherwise it wouldn't be good. Its ability is insane. Accelerate 2 special energies every turn. So and then I have one attacker, and that's which I don't think you had, and that is Roaring Moon, the baby Roaring Moon, which is a very
Yeah,
good
okay.
deck.
Yeah, it's a good deck, and it's called Ancient Pox, but that's the main attacker. I was considering putting that. Those are your four.
That's my 4, yeah.
Okay, I have Snorlax and Dusknoir, I think, are my top two. I honestly forgot about Archeops. I do have Chinchino as, I think, the best attacker.
Okay.
Moon's up there as well. I also have Manaphy. I think Manaphy is very good. Manaphy is a weird card to talk about. And then I have Comfy. I was like, Lost Stone's been good this year.
Hmm.
It's not been absurdly dominant, but it's been pretty solid.
Yep.
And yeah, I just felt like I couldn't ignore Manaphy. And then we have Iron Bundle. It's a
Oh yeah.
decently versatile Pokemon. It's good. It's probably not the best, but it's just a bunch of play. And then you have Mimikyu. Mimikyu is a weird card to talk about, but it's good. I think it's underrated. It's a weird card.
Okay. So you got a bunch. All right. So I'm trying
Yeah.
to.
And then I have one last one. I got Noctowl, which is, you were saying
Oh
engines aren't played.
yeah. I
Noctowl is
forgot
played though.
about that one. Yeah.
Realistically, I think Noctowl has a really hard time making it because it's newer and it's not like super dominant, but it's been a good card. It's probably the best. Like it's an engine. It's a bit of a different engine, but it's an engine, and it's arguably the best. I mean, Pidgeot EX is good, and then it depends like what you count, Pheasantipty EX and like Pokestop and things like that. But regardless, I think that's good. But I think it's between. So yes, I kind of forgot about Archeops because I was thinking about Lugia as in the other categories, and then that's
Right.
obviously a rule box Pokemon. Archeops isn't like great though without great special energy. We'll talk about special energy later, but I mean it's a very good card, but it was better like by a lot in an earlier format.
Oh yeah, yeah. When he had all those great special energies, then it was pretty insane. And even then, it's tricky, right? Because Archeops without Lugia, you're not evolving it from a fossil in a viable deck. I don't think so.
Yeah, boo fossils,
Boof,
right?
right? Fossils are for losers, right?
Yeah.
So I think I can't put Archeops. But then what I'll say is I think I'm gonna knock out. In a sense, I'm not sure I would knock out Chinchino similarly too. It's in the only the
No,
one.
that's fair. That's
It's
fair.
only the one deck, and without Archeops and Lugia, it's no good. Also,
Yeah, I think Roaring Moon also probably isn't on there. Like Roaring Moon's good. It's probably the best single prize attacker of the year. Um, it's good, but eh, is it good enough? Probably not.
probably not. Oh, the best single prize attacker, at least right now, is probably Cloth, right? But
Yeah, Cloth was like a card I wanted to put, but it has not been good for that long. It's been good with Latias EX. Latias EX maybe could have been like it's a very good supporting Pokemon. I forgot about that one kind of, or maybe I didn't, but it's obviously very new. Um, and it's not like super dominant. And then we have, well, I don't think Comfy. I don't think you think it's Comfy.
no, and again, it's also it's only Lost Zone, and Lost Zone hasn't been great this year, also, right? That's what I would
I
say.
think it's very good now. Like it's a very good deck right now. But yeah, no. And then there. Oh, also, I guess we should say this. We're not counting like Charmanders and stuff. I mean, we could if the Charmander was good, but we're not counting that. And
Right.
then I think Iron Bundle probably isn't.
No, I don't think it's Iron Bundle. It's obviously it's a very again it's very good, but I don't think it can. No, it doesn't make the list. Oh, the one other card that's good, but again doesn't make it is the psychic one with darkness energy that moves the
Oh, Monkey Dory.
monkey
Yeah,
dory, right? That's a fun one too. But again, I
it's a
don't think.
fun one. It's good, but
Yeah.
yeah. And then there's Mimikyu and Noctowl. I don't think either of those make it. Mimikyu's I think it's really underrated, but it's not like
Um.
doesn't see
Yeah.
that much play.
Correct. I wonder with the new stuff coming out if that could be worth playing some more. But yes, I don't think it's good enough in general.
With the new wait, what new
Well,
stuff? Like the trainers book
yeah,
or
with
the Badoo?
Badoo, honestly, because I think there's some real because you're looking to play some hard counter stuff with that, right? Potentially, it's an idea.
Potentially, yeah.
So obviously, you know, it's good for that. But yeah, I don't think Mimikyu is going to make the list today, so that's not going to be the winner.
Yeah, and then Noctowl is I think too new, and it's not even like that. It's a card that I like a lot. I know
Yeah.
you don't like it. You find it annoying to play against.
Well, I don't. Well, yeah, and I don't feel bad. When it first was out, it was getting played a lot, and it takes a lot of actions and decisions. The people that play it now are also probably better too. Like it was out, and like people were new, and they would just, they would make like 10 decisions on a turn, and like you'd sit there for 5 minutes.
Yeah, difficult decisions, not just like, oh, I want to play this nest ball or not. No.
Right. And then I would take
Um,
like a 30-second turn. I'll get to another card too that is a bad decision card on lots of live games. But yeah, I don't think Noctowl quite gets there.
yeah. So then you don't think it's Manaphy? Like, because you didn't have Manaphy on your list.
I mean, so we're down to 3 cards, right?
Yeah, Snorlax, Dusknoir, which are the two you think, which definitely those aren't annoying at all, right? Um, and then we were
And
gonna do a most
Manaphy.
annoying category, and we decided that all the most annoying category was just these single prize Pokemon. So
Yeah.
so Manaphy, like Manaphy's a card that's played a lot. I think it's fallen off some, but it's very good. I mean, fallen off, it's still played a decent amount, but it's really, I mean, it's been played a lot. It's obviously in all sorts of decks. Like Dustor and Snorlax are not in all sorts of decks. Manaphy is. I don't
Pretty.
necessarily think it's that, but I think it could be. I mean, it's so versatile. It's one of the most versatile Pokemon in the game, if not the most versatile Pokemon in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to scanning through some of the IRL results. It doesn't show up in a lot of the top decks very often, is what I'll say.
But it's also a card that like allows you to be in games more. Winning a tournament, you need to get arguably need to like high roll some.
Right.
So in order to do that, then a card like Manaphy reduces your odds of being able to do that. And keeps like even with Manaphy, it's not like if you're a terrible matchup against a spread deck, you play Manaphy. It's not all of a sudden a great matchup. It just makes it a little more okay. But yeah, like Manaphy is a card. It's a weird card, but it definitely adds value to decks. It doesn't necessarily mean that you'll like it makes some matchups worse, but it's a card but it doesn't make them that much worse. And the matchups it makes better, it makes a lot better. So it gives you more even matchup spread, which as I said isn't necessarily what you're looking for in a tournament, but in general play, like regular play, it can be often a very good card to include.
Yeah, the question, one of my big questions is it too narrow in its usage, right? Like how many decks
Yeah.
are really playing it? Because obviously,
What do you mean? Well,
like
more decks are playing it than Snorlax and Dusknoir.
that's true. That's true. I'm thinking about, yeah. I mean, you're correct. So it's more wide than those, but it's not like just amongst a lot of you have like big HP basic type decks and all. Don't play Manaphy, right? They don't worry
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it. And then it's a matter of you also, so it's evolution decks primarily that have to play it. And then you still have the question of to what extent do you need to play it, right? It's what's the anticipated meta? Because obviously you don't want to start Manaphy generally, and you always would like to probably have a different card instead in your deck if you didn't need Manaphy. So even the decks that can use it's kind of in and out. What I will say is if we had the old Mew, right, with whatever, it's same effect, different name, but its
Yeah,
attack
with
was
Ben
much
Spade.
better,
I
right?
guess. I
Well,
mean, yeah,
you
Manaphy's
could
attack's
use it,
bad.
right?
But it's not like it was a great attack. I guess it would be good against Badoo. So
It
yeah.
was 30, right? And for colorless, and it was to any Pokemon, right? If I recall, or you got
Yeah,
to
you place
spread it
damage
out.
counters anywhere you want.
So, but it just, it was just it made most decks can't attack with mana if you're not that you want to, but it's nice to have that option. Anyway, so is it broad enough? Let's talk about the other two
Yeah.
cards.
Yeah. So let's talk Snorlax. We talked about it. I mentioned it earlier. It's been
Yes.
like it's a card that has really high win rate. If you look on like play limitless, and
Yeah.
also Snorlax. If you don't know tournaments generally, this isn't necessarily how they all work, but a lot work this way. where if you run out of time, then it ends in a draw, and there's a time limit, which isn't the live timer, because in live you shouldn't really ever run out of time. Um, Even with the shortened timer, I've gotten below 10 minutes now. Like sometimes that definitely happens, but I've never timed out. Uh, I don't know if I've ever seen someone time out, like my opponent time out in live. It's really unlikely. And I played like games that have gone. I mean, with Snorlax, I played a game once that was like 200 turns, and we had plenty of time left. I played games that are long with lots of turns, with lots of decisions, and the time shouldn't run out. But in tournaments, you land up with ties. Ties are not wins, so in terms of win rate, they're essentially losses, and so that like kind of skews the win rate down some in ways that aren't like exactly what you'd expect. It kind of makes the deck look worse than it is. And this is higher, like much higher with decks that are like stally or controlly like Snorlax. So as a deck, its win rate is like kind of absurd, pretty
Yeah.
consistently. It's not like game breaking, obvious best deck in format absurd win rate, but it's very good. I mean, in the current format of the top 50 decks, it's third, but has a lot of ties. So I'm not sure if it would probably wouldn't be first. But the other decks are Palkia Noctowl and Lost Box Charizard, which sees substantially less plays. Then the next deck
Right.
below it is Pidgeot Control. And then yeah, Iron Thorn's up there as well. Everyone's favorite three decks.
Yeah, I mean these control decks do really well, for good or for bad, which we might most people might think for bad. Here's good the good about Snorlax is online tournaments it does really well.
Wait, is
Um,
that good?
well, that's
Oh,
that's a
for the card
for
being good,
Snorlax.
not for us.
No, if you want to just grind wins in live, it's really good for that too.
Yeah,
That's
the
really
games aren't like usually that long. They can be long if your opponent slow plays
yeah.
or if you also slow play because you don't know what you're doing. But it's a pretty easy deck to play, and the turns are pretty short.
Right. It actually was. I think at one point, if I had like a player that didn't know what they were doing too well and wanted to go to like an event, probably Snorlax was you could probably get the best performance out of that deck, which is I always felt was unfortunate for a stall control deck, but because it was pretty simple. The downside though is in IRL tournaments where you have partly the tournament rules make control decks hard, but also your opponent's quality of opponents increases. It doesn't do very well IRL play. So that's I think
Yeah,
that's a big
but the
knock.
IRL tournament play, right?
Right, IRL
But
tournament.
most play is not that. I mean, like most play is decent. And it's not like a hard. I'd say Pidgeot Control is a deck where it's really hard to play.
Yeah,
So I'd knock it for that. But Snorlax is easy to play, hard to play against, which is really what you're looking for.
right.
Um, that's like good for a deck. It's not like that hard to play against, but it's something that's unique. Regardless, it's like a card with a good win rate, and it's been good like the whole year. It has had
Yeah,
some like Pekka EX isn't good for it. It's really bad. Essentially, if your opponent's playing that, you just lose.
right.
And there's some things like Dustnor. So let's talk about Dustnor. I think we kind of know what Snorlax is, but Dustnor is a card that people wanted banned. It was never going to get banned. It wasn't really ever deserving of a ban, but it was
No.
very good. It was also annoying because it allows you to kind of sweep your opponent's board either by just knocking out all their Pokemon or all their important Pokemon, or by just taking all your prizes. And it's been good in a few decks. It's been good in Dragapult. It's not like no, yeah, I guess it's pretty much always playing Dragapult, I think. Charizard and then Terapagos. Certainly not always playing Terapagos. Obviously, it's a card that came out this year as well.
Right. So yeah, it's hasn't been around as long. So that's a negative in our categories. I'm looking like at its results. It an IRL. It hasn't been great generally.
What?
Uh, the Dust Nordex. I think it won one event with a Charizard deck, but generally, I think when it first came out, it was got some buzz, but it's not been the best. I don't think. Um, so I don't know. I mean I'm not inclined to put Dustnor at the top, but
Yeah, and I said like it's usually been Dragapult. I guess now people play with Iron Thorns a lot, but regardless, yeah, I
right.
think it's. So does that leave us with Snorlax?
I mean unless you want to argue for Manaphy, right?
I could see it being Manaphy, but you think it's not? Like, do you definitely think it's Snorlax and not Manaphy?
Um, I mean, see, Snorlax obviously does really well. Manaphy obviously is much more versatile.
Yeah.
I
Ultimately, in terms of actual games, like it's not even useful that often. So it's a card that people just can chuck in,
right.
because it can be. It's like an insurance policy, but it's nothing that is consistently winning you games either.
Right. Most games you're discarding it as soon as you get the chance from your hand, usually.
Mhm.
Unless you know you need it. So look, I think we should give it to Snorlax, and I think we should be glad it's going to rotate. And I think we should probably start a petition to ban Snorlax from expanded once it rotates.
Exactly. But there's the other Snorlax expanded as well,
Yeah. Look,
which is like the same.
I think we should. How about a petition that Pokemon never prints a card with blockability
Lot.
again?
Yeah.
Because
But there's the Almost Star, or the what's it? The Almost Star from 151, which has the ability Primordial Tentacles as long as it's in the active your points active can't retreat, right? Everyone's favorite ability, so it's still in format. But it's a stage 2 fossil, so
yeah.
as we determined earlier, fossils are bad.
Right. Look, this is a basic, right? With pretty good with
Yeah,
pretty
no,
decent
Snorlax is
HP.
like super. I think it's like kind of bro. I have visually have the old Snorlax pulled up, but yeah, no, I think it's kind of bro. I usually don't call cards broken, but Snorlax might be broken. Um, it's kind of weird, but regardless, that's the best one. Manaphy's very different.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
then
we
we
agree on Snorlax, right?
yeah,
Okay.
everyone's favorite card.
Yes. All right. So now we're doing moving to the trainers and energies, right? So we go to best supporter Pokemon. So shall I read off
Card.
card? Yeah. I have 6 cards. How many do you have, by
Okay,
the
and
way?
I got 5.
All right. Why don't you
Wait, I
read
thought you
the
said you had 5 earlier. Maybe you didn't.
No,
Anyway,
I
so I
still have
have.
actually I do have 5.
Oh, what? Okay.
I can't count.
So I have Boss's Orders, Iono,
Mhm.
Professor Sada's Vitality, Arvin, and Professor's Research.
All right, wait, hang on. So Professor Sada's Vitality, which I don't have, which is very good.
Yeah.
So let's see, make sure. So Iono, you said right?
Hmm.
Arvin, Boss, Research,
Yep.
and then I have the other professor. Is-
Turos. Okay. I think Penny like is also up there. Turo
yeah,
Scenario and Penny kind of fight each other, which is kind of weird.
right.
So
Turo is
what?
more universal because it's
Yeah,
not
but
just
it's worse,
basics.
obviously.
Yes, yes.
Um, regardless, I don't think it's that. Do you think it's that?
Look, I'm gonna say, and I said we were kind of going over just talking the show notes, so to speak. Although we don't actually have show notes, just what we're gonna talk about. I think it's two. I think it's between 2 cards, and I said I don't think you're gonna like it because I think it's
Yeah. What
between.
to
I think it's Research or Boss, which are just too boring, right?
research?
I
I
think
think
Professor's
it's
Research is
Iono or Boss. I think research is fourth, or even maybe even fifth.
wow.
Because well, like research is good. Obviously, I mean it's like
It's
a game
great, but
order.
okay.
But it's like boss. I think might be the most played card in the game. I could be mistaken about that. And Festivities, as it said, has played a lot. Research has played a decent amount. Like boss is just a card that it's not the only card thing. It's not the only card that does what it does. There might be another one that we'll talk about later on in the video, but it's certainly the main one, I think. So it's really powerful. It's an effect that every deck in the game wants,
hmm
and research isn't. Like,
All
I
right,
mean, it's good. Drawing seven's a card, an effect that everyone wants.
so just quickly, let's discuss the other 3 cards which I think we agreed it's not those, right? So Professor's Tourist Scenario, it's too limited, right? It sees a lot of play, but it's usually one copy of in a number of decks. So I don't think it's going to be the card of the year, right?
Yeah,
Okay. And then you said Sada's Vitality, which I don't think it's that either. Again, it's super awesome when it does, right? But it's even it's probably more niche than Professor Tourist Scenario.
yeah, that certainly cannot go in every deck. It's probably like if it could go to any Pokemon, then it probably would be like the best supporter in the game. Um, which
Yeah.
obviously would be like super absurd, but it's very good with the decks. It's like Raging Bull Ogre Pond is obviously a good deck and fueled by Professor Saw's Vitality, but it's not like the
Yeah.
best deck of the year. And yeah, anyway, so then we have
And then there's
Arvin.
Irvin, right? Which it's very good, and and it sees a ton of play, but I don't think it's Arvin, right? I don't think you do either.
Yeah, I think it's carried by the good tools and items. I mean, obviously it gets tools and items, but I think there's a handful of great ones, which are why this card's good. And
Yeah.
It's like it's good, but I've never been a massive fan of Arvin either. So yeah, I'm finally leaving that one off.
Okay.
So Iono, let's talk about that one now. Iono is the best disruptive supporter in the game, realistically,
Yeah.
and the best or it's the best shuffle draw supporter in the game as well. So,
Yeah.
are you disagreeing?
Well, I mean, youngster's not terrible. Everyone forgets about it.
Youngster's
It's not
not that.
terrible. And then there's what do we have? I'm trying to think what hasn't rotated. That might yeah, I guess that there's nothing better.
Yeah, I mean, Youngster's not that good though. It's shuffle draw 5 if you don't know, which is like okay. I mean,
But
like a decent chunk of the game will be getting you more cards than Iono, but
that's what
Iono's disruptive aspect paired with its draw aspect is like so good.
yeah, look, Iono's good, really good early game now. Before Pheasant Dippy came out, it was good for disruption. Now that Pheasant Dippy's out and most people are playing it, it's kind of pointless, right? You're
I
actually
wouldn't say
just
it's pointless. Like it it still like generally shrinks their hand. They still are able to generally recover, but they won't always be able to recover from Iono. And also sometimes you like prime catcher or counter catcher or whatever up their
yeah.
Pheasantipty and then Iono them or something like that. So Iono's still good.
It, no,
Like it's very good.
it is very good. And like rare candy decks, which are a big thing. You don't like a card like Research. At least I don't, right? I'm very hesitant, right? That's going to discard my rare candies, and I
Yeah.
can be in a
Oh,
lot
you're
of
a Pokemon. Like
oh
it's your
my
rare candies you can't really get back.
right in like a Charizard deck, you're not recovering rare candies, right? Really, only in a control deck can you get those back, which is a whole different game, really. Um, so but now that Pheasantipity, putting yourself to a low hand late game doesn't always feel good. So it's very good. Don't get me wrong. I would put Research over it, but I get you. There's obviously arguments to be made.
Yeah, why do you think research like obviously it draws you a lot of cards, right? Research, but
Yes,
why do you think it's
it's
like yeah.
I don't look. Research had fallen off, and I don't remember when it picked back up. But now it's played in a lot of decks, and it's played in like four. There's a lot of four copies of research decks now. I think in the game. For a while, people veered away from it. It's back now, so
Yeah, I think it's kind of taken turns with Arvin. Like, you're looking at stage 2 decks with Arvin, and then decks like basic decks that want research. I guess like Raging Bolt doesn't necessarily want research, but
right,
something like Lugia Archeops and Regigico V-Star both want research as well to be able to discard certain cards from what you have. So
right.
research is good, and then it can be teched into as like a one of or two of into other decks as well, like Charizard or something. It's a good card. I think it's boss. Like that's I'll just say that.
I think yeah. I mean, every deck wants some boss, right? Let me take. I mean, let's see. Toronto for 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It just keeps going down. That the number of
Yeah. Oh, and then
copies.
at Osaka, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I think it's all of
I
them,
think
right?
it might be all the decks.
Right,
Yeah.
because they only report the top 16, I think, right? And I
Yeah,
think
this one
it's
just
in.
has top 16 here, and so that's very impressive. It's very good, and this it's a wide variety of decks that you got like
Yeah,
Draco and Serial Edge and Miraidon and Arcaludon and um Dragapult and Pidgeot like Control and Raging Bulldog Pawn and Gardevoir and like Cloth Trapghost. It's in like any deck of any type, and it's good in that deck. Yes, it's not played as like a 4 of. It's like a 2 of, I guess, is probably what you're looking at,
yeah,
but it's very good.
yeah. I mean, I'm looking. As you're talking, let the Perth Regional. They list 55 decks here under it, and the top 50 and all the top 55 decks play at least one boss. So it's just every deck has it, right? The counts are low, but every deck needs a gusting effect, basically.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, we'll say boss. Boss is very very good.
yeah, I'm glad with boss, and I'm a lot happier to make it boss than I was when we made it Snorlax.
Yeah, boss is I think a card that some people find like it's very good, so some people find it a little annoying, but yeah, it's not like it's a card that's just a normal card in the game.
Yeah.
And then for items, next up, I have 4. You said you had 8.
Yes. So, and I'm pretty sure I got the number correct this time. So, why don't you name your four
Um,
first?
yeah, so I got Nest Ball, Ultra Ball, Prime Catcher, and Super Rod.
And I didn't wait. So you had 4. Okay, and I didn't have Super Rod. So okay.
Okay.
So a couple of them I don't, and I don't think Super Rod gets it, but maybe I'm wrong on that. So besides that, I've got Buddy Buddy Poffin.
Mhm.
I have Night Stretcher, which is very good. I really like that. Earthen Vessel, which very very
That's
good.
good. Yeah. Good card.
Rare Candy, I didn't think it, which is just insane with what it does.
Yeah. I mean, rare candy is really hard to like value. I feel like,
Uh,
which doesn't mean it's bad. I
it
mean, it's good.
is. I mean, the decks that use it, it's insane, right? Like Charizard,
Yeah, they
Pidgeot,
need.
it's nothing without it. But then obviously you got decks that big basic decks that don't use it. But that's true for yeah. I mean, Ultra Ball is like the most. I think Ultra Ball or Prime Catcher myself, and then I have Counter Catcher, which I think Counter Catcher
Okay. Yeah.
deserves. I think that's probably top 5 or so, but I could be wrong.
Maybe it's a very good card, and that's partially why Snorlax is so good. Regardless, I'd say what you said is I think so. Super Odd, you had mentioned that, and I
Right.
said it. I think it's. I mean, I think it's better than Night Stretcher. Also, it's been out the whole year. It's played in
Yeah.
higher quantities, like often. Like it's very good in some decks. I wouldn't say it's Super Odd. I think Super Odd and Night Stretcher kind of take away from each other. So I wouldn't say those.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's like a mix. Most decks you place at least one of each. A lot of times it's 3 of a total, and it's a matter of what 2 is. Probably my typical deck has 2 Night Stretchers, 1 Super Rod. But you know, I think yeah, I think they take away, and neither one is pushing it to the top.
Yeah, yeah. And then there is. Well, I don't think. What were your other items? I don't think any of those seemed like they were.
So Earthen Vessel, you're not a big fan of that, right?
No, I mean it's good. It's a good card, but
Okay, it's a very good, but that is not what this is. Buddy Buddy Poffin, you don't think that?
no. Buddy Buddy Poffin's good. It's like kind of insane in the decks it's in, but it's not
Right.
in all the decks. And those decks also probably play Nest Ball and Ultra Ball.
Yeah, it loses the versatility. So I agree about that. What about but Rare Candy is insanely good in a lot of
Yeah.
very good
Rare
decks.
Candy's interesting. It's in like a few really good decks, like Charizard, and then like any Pidgeot deck,
Right.
and
And
sometimes in Gardevoir, and then Dragapult.
Dragapult, right.
Um, Dusknoir, I guess as well. I'm just flipping through Goldingo. What? Oh yeah, okay, with
Yeah.
Togekiss. I was wondering if that's what it was. Yeah. So you have. It's like it's a good card. Obviously, I think if you took away Rare Candy, um, some decks just wouldn't work. But if you took away, wait, what card did you think it should be? Ultra Ball. I think Nest Ball is better. I think Nest Ball might be better than Ultra Ball.
We could
I'm not
see
sure. I
that.
could.
But anyway, so Rare Candy, you think it's not universal enough, right?
Yeah,
So we take
it's
out
hard to. Yeah, I don't love it. I mean, it's
that's
just very
fine.
good, obviously, but I think it's not Prime Catcher either. I think
Well, hang on. So Counter Catcher, you didn't have that. You don't think that's it. It's very good for what
no.
it does, right? But
Yeah, Prime Catcher is better than a Counter Catcher.
well, it's your A spec, right? So that
Yeah,
it better be better than it, right? Um,
yeah.
I mean, I put it Ultra Ball 1, Prime Catcher 2, Nest Ball 3. So you want to put you think Nest Ball.
I'm not sure. I could go with Ultra Ball. I'd be fine with that. I don't think Prime Catcher being your ace spec, it's kind of different. I honestly just don't really want to put Prime Catcher at the top. It's very good. It's a pretty like decently defining card in the game, but it is an ace spec, so it's a one of. And if you didn't have Prime Catcher, you'd lose out on certain combos and like explosive turns and things like that. That you could only get with Counter Catcher if you're losing, and you're not always losing. So, well, I'm not always losing, but
I might always be
no,
losing.
yeah, no. So, yeah, you have Prime Catcher's very good. I'm not sitting here denying it, but it's compared to like it's at a higher bar because it's an ace spec. I think Nest Ball and Ultra Ball are up like really close.
Yeah.
Nest Ball, I guess I'll go with Ultra Ball. Discarding is actually kind of nice as well. It's not like you'd probably rather not discard 2 cards, but it's very good, and I think it's almost like underrated right now as well. People are playing like Terra Orb and
Yeah.
um or Feather Ball before playing a fourth Ultra Ball sometimes, which I think the fourth Ultra Ball is almost always better because of its versatility. So I'm fine with Ultra Ball, and decks like Rageable Ogerpon are still playing Ultra Ball. So if a deck like that
Right.
wasn't playing, what do I say? So anyway, yeah. So if a deck like this wasn't playing, wait, does this one play Ultra Ball? I think they sometimes do. Right, I'm gonna actually check what percentage of them do play Ultra Ball.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Um,
yeah. Take a look. What? Because let me
they
talk.
play some,
y-
like an average of one in the current format.
Okay, so yeah, so to me the question is nest ball obviously is necessary for evolution decks. Obviously you have the basic
Ultra Ball.
ultra ball. Sorry, ultra ball is nest ball's not and you play nest ball in those decks too, basically, unless you play Buddy Buddy Poffin if that's all you need, right? But you often are playing nest ball as well. So the question is but any evolving deck has to have nest ball essentially. For the basic only decks, are they
Huh.
playing some nest balls? I mean,
No, Ultra Ball.
some
Ultra
ultra
Ball.
ball. Sorry, right? Does
Um,
a big basic deck play ultra ball? And if they are even playing one, generally, I think I'd give it to ultra ball because its versatility.
yeah, and I think that they are. You want some discard. It's a good card. Dust Balls. If Dust Ball went to your hand and it made Luminian V better and things like that, then I think I'd give it to Nest Ball. But maybe I don't know how much that would change the format. But Ultra Ball is really good, and so I'm fine with giving it to Ultra Ball.
Okay, I mean, yeah, nest balls. Yeah, if a quick ball was in format, that might change things because what
Yeah.
that does for you. So okay,
Um,
so we got Ultra Ball is category number winner number 5, and down to the final category, which I find this one tough to get cards for, and this is best tool, stadium, special energy. Best of the rest is what it is.
yep. Not basic energy, because that would be a debate. That would be kind of weird. So we're not doing that. But we have the
So I
oh, I misspelled best. I have my notes. Apparently I misspelled best, like autocorrected.
all right, so I have one of each type in my thing. So let me just say what they are. It's also really hard to evaluate these because they're different types. So the best tool, we've made mention of it, I think is Forest Seal Stone. Obviously, it doesn't work for everything, but it's insane when it does. I think the best energy is Double Turbo Energy. I don't think there's any debate on that one. If you want to say something else, I might just stop recording. And I think there is one best stadium and that's Pokestop. You might
Yeah, I originally had Aries Zero under that, but I was like, wait, no, I forgot about Pokestop. And then also Art Zone's good. Not as good
yeah.
as Pokestop. It's like highly played and more universal, but in some ways being universal as a stadium is also bad. So yeah, Pokestop's very good. I think it's not Pokestop. Um,
Okay. I mean, obviously, a
like
lot of
it's good, but
right. You have to play a deck built for Pokestop, is what I'll say, and most decks aren't right because supporters, in large part, are just so good. So it's but obviously it's critical to a number of decks, but then more decks don't want to play it at all. I would say.
I guess it's critical, but also it's like it doesn't it's not a super reliable card. And it also is a card that's not your whole engine. It's like a half or a third of your engine or something like that. Because you got Rating Vision, Pheasant Dip EX, and Squawkabilly EX.
Right.
And those are very important. You might play like Pokegear, you might play Tracking Shoes. So, which do work with Pokestop, but I don't think it's Pokestop. I think it's between Force Stone and Double Turbo. They're different.
Yeah.
The metagame, like the best decks we have are like I'm just like looking through the best decks of the year, and neither of these are like played in that many of the decks. I guess Pokestop's played in as many as like the other ones. I think it's Double Turbo is so good right now with Terapagos builds being like Cloth and Terapagos being just so good right now. Like I think Cloth is a top I think it's a top like 5 deck probably with
Okay.
Cloth Terapagos. And then you have it in Lugia, but I think for the most of the format, I'd give it to Force Seal Stone. I think it's the card that makes Arvin great. Arvin's obviously a good supporter, but I think it's because of Force Seal Stone. Like people are playing multiple Force Seal Stones. You
Right.
literally can't even use multiple, but people play them because it's so good. Not all the time, but sometimes.
Right. You'll play 4 Arvin with just like one Forest Seal Stone, and it kind of justifies the 4 Arvin. When you're just getting search for an item like 3 times with it. So yeah, and the double turbo because Arceus hasn't been great this year, pretty much. That double turbo is picked up as the year went on. I think right. So it hasn't been as good all year, whereas Forest Seal Stone's been a big piece all year. I think I don't know for universality, which card's more universal, Forest Seal Stone or double turbo.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I think it's Force Seal still, like at least in the meta right now, and with Arcus going down and other V stars going down. Yes, Richard Drake is good, and Palkia is also decent, and then Lugia is good, but they're not like most of the meta. Then Force Seal Stone's good in most, like a lot of those other decks.
Yeah.
Miraidon, Charizard. It's like good in Lost Zone, I guess. It's not played in Lost Zone right now, but it sometimes is. And there are decks that could play it, and there are decks that do play it. And I think it's very good. Like Cloth, it's really important to that deck. So I think Force Seal Stone being the best of
Okay.
those is fair.
Yeah, I think it's the best. What's interesting is I think we would agree Force of Stone is the best item, Double Turbo Energy the best energy, Pokestop the
Cool.
best.
I
What's
mean,
that?
it says item, but
Sorry. Yeah, and Pokestop the best stadium, and they're all rotating. So the best of each of those categories is rotating. So which is so the game's taking a step back for what we have to choose from all those things in the
yeah.
year
And then
ahead.
Lost Vacuum's also rotating, which is kind of interesting. That was a card I originally had as a great. It's a good item, but
Yeah.
it's kind of different and it's not insane. But yeah. So that card, we'll see how much is missed, and rotation will shake things up. Snorlax is rotating,
Hmm.
and yeah. So
I mean the
a lot
cards.
of really good cards are rotating.
Yeah, I mean the other cards. Just I like I said, energy is still very good. It's niche, right? It didn't
Oh,
doesn't
Legacy, yeah.
that might become the best special energy. The technical machines, they're very good
Mist
too.
Energy is also like good.
Yeah, the technical machines are good. I had TM Evolution as maybe a tool, right? Because it's very important in some decks, but obviously not in a lot.
Yeah.
Bravery,
Rescue Board is also very good.
yeah. Bravery Charm for a tool, again, very good. That's rotating, right? Or not
I
rotating?
guess. No, Bravery Charm's not. But I think Bravery Charm's okay. I don't think it's like that good.
No.
I mean,
And
it's good. I was like, should I? But I definitely put Rescue Board over it because it's almost like an item ability. Like, because
yeah,
Force Seal Stone is like a regular card that you play, except
yeah,
it's a tool.
right.
And Rescue Board's kind of like Switch on a tool. It's not, but it's kind of like that, which
Yeah.
I think makes it great in Arp Index.
No, it's very good. Obviously, the reduction of one only is not great in a
It's
number of
not
decks.
always one only. Well, I mean, it essentially is. I always forget that it allows you to it gives you free retreat if you have 30 HP or less.
Oh,
I guess
that's
it gives
right.
Badoo free retreat. Yay. So if your opponent plays like a bunch of things, like if you're against Spite Ops and you're playing Badoo, you now have free retreat.
There you go. Oh, I guess if you're playing Magikarp, right? They're 30 HP, right?
Yeah,
With
but they
retreat
probably also
cost
have,
of, are they free? There might be one. Oh, I
I think
guess,
it's
but it's not
one,
two though.
but it
So
doesn't matter. Yeah, it's like
yeah, it
pretty much
doesn't.
any Pokemon with low HP has low retreat, so it's kind of
Yeah,
meaningless. But regardless, Rescue Board obviously good. But anyways, I think we got a good list, and
yeah, yeah. I mean
yeah, the most diverse, the most divisive one was the first one, which I
the
wasn't necessarily
attacking
expecting.
one. No, I figured we'd be because we had the same four, right? The same list of four for both of
Hmm.
us, but strong opinions. So Charizard EX squeaks out the best attacking Pokemon,
Squeaks out, I guess.
right?
Just
Well,
happens to be like the best card all year, but that's fine.
it's well,
I mean, not the
look,
best all
it's
year, but very good,
HP.
very good.
Look, its HP, its attack, and its ability is pretty insane. I got to say, I think this is
Yeah.
close to being a broken card. That's what I'd say there.
Yes.
Pheasant EX gets the best supporting Pokemon. It wasn't around as long as some, but it's just used so massively. Snorlax, the best non-rulebacks Pokemon, rotating, and I know I'm glad for that, and I imagine you are as well. And
Yeah.
boss,
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
so I paused for you to jump in, but that we weren't in sync there.
I
Bosses,
figured that didn't need to be said.
well, some people must love it, right? Boss's orders just insanely good. Period. Ultra Ball, really awesome, and obviously, it just in Forest Seal Stone, search your deck for any one card once over the course of the game. Really good for probably half the decks or something. The decks that can use it. So, I think well deserved. Your top cards there is what I'd say.
Yeah, but comment down below if you're watching us on YouTube, what cards you think you'd put here. Any cards that are like new cards as well that you think are really interesting, because most of these are older cards. But we hope you enjoyed the podcast. Consider checking us out on YouTube at 10 Types and at Echo and Fossil, as well as you can listen to us on podcasting platforms. But we hope you enjoyed, and we're excited to see you in the next episode.
Take care.